All right, now to complete an Ironman triathlon, you have to do a 3.8 kilometer swim, an 18 kilometer cycle, and a standard marathon of 42.2 kilometers, which requires high standards of fitness. And to do 10 of these events consecutively is absolute madness. And this is where the next event comes in. The Deca Ultra Triathlon is made up of 38 kilometer swim and, a 3.8 kilometer swim, an 18 kilometer cycle, and a run of 42.2 kilometers. And to help us understand how tough this race is, we have roped in 3 athletes from Xtreme South Africa team who have just completed Africa's first triathlon. And we have Cameron, Stephen and Blaine. Gents, a very good morning. Thanks for joining us. Welcome.
Morning, Simpiwe. Thanks for having us.
Well done, man. You're such an inspiration to some of us. Make me understand this race. How many days does it take to complete, and what's the format of the competition in general? I'm going to start with you.
Simpiwe, so it took some of us 14 days, like myself. Took Blaine 12 days, I think. So it depends, but you have 14 days to complete the race. It's a total of 38 kilometers swim, 1,800 cycle, and 422.
Hang on a second, is it 38 kilometers?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it's
I
times
mentioned
10.
3 kilometers and my jaw was on the floor.
Listen, my jaw was also on the floor before I entered. I didn't know it was times 10. My maths is not that good. So that's what the race encompasses. And like I said, some people do it in 14 days. The winner this year from France actually did it in 10 days. So it varies on your fitness levels, your mental strength, and hopefully that your body sticks in one piece.
Yeah, but then how do this race compares to other races?
So this is more, I would say, endurance. Of course, everything's endurance, but the normal Ironman is a quick, heavy-paced, push your body to the limits with brutal force. Where this is, you've got to kind of be consistent, and you've got to listen to your body even more intensely compared to those races, and you've got to make sure that you're fueling and doing all the correct things over a longer period of time, but just so you can sustain all the days. Now, from a sports science perspective, what kind of physical conditioning do you think an athlete needs to complete, or is essential for an athlete to complete this particular race?
So, Simpiwe, it's a good question, and I think it boils down to the individual athlete themselves. The idea is to get there in the best condition possible, but also during the race to complete it, you need to make sure that your nutrition is good, that you're feeding your body. You need to have a good understanding of your body and what your body needs throughout the whole race. It's not only about food, it's about hydration, it's about the weather, it's about sleep deprivation. There's so many different factors. And then when you start getting to the end of it, like Blaine, the competition in the last day or two gets so hectic. He was battling with Deca Dave Clamp from the UK for jostling positions in 3rd and 4th. And it just became, they had to literally go through the whole day and almost the whole night of running non-stop. He didn't want to stop because he didn't want to lose the position or wanted to gain it, and Dave didn't want to stop. So there it gets pretty intense, and that's where you need the mind, you need the muscles, you need the fitness, you need all sorts.
I'm quite curious to know, though, in terms of sleep deprivation, how does that impact performance, and how do athletes mitigate this?
Who are you asking that? Because I think we got different answers. The first problem is...
I want to hear all of them.
Yeah, good. That's a good one. The first problem is you tend to have sort of hallucinations from sleep deprivation. Generally happens at night between sort of 12 and 4 in the morning. And you don't quite realize that it's happening until you start thinking, your brain's so tired, you're focusing on riding or running or whatever you're doing, and you start wondering if what you're seeing is actually happening. It's really weird, but I guess it also keeps you busy mentally, and your body just goes. Your body gets to a point where you get into a rhythm and you just go and go. You also just have to push through the pain and the normal stuff. Obviously, when it starts becoming dangerous injury-wise, then you've got to consider stopping. But, that's pretty much it. You guys might have a different take on that one.
Yeah. What's your take with regards to how sleep deprivation may impact your performance?
Yeah, it definitely slows you down from the aspect of getting ready to go cycle or run. You're in a routine, and if you wake up in the morning normally and you want to go jog and cycle, maybe it takes you 5 minutes to get ready. It's like you a sloth. It's on go slow mode. You're trying to speed it up, you know what you're doing, but it takes you forever to wake up and get that all that motion going. But once you're on the bike, once you're on the run, then your body kicks in and it just adapts. Literally just adapts. If you're doing consecutive, 4 hours or 2 hour sleep pattern, your body just adapts, but your mind is still like, am I awake? Am I sleeping? Not sure what's going on. And then when you do start it, then you get into it again, and then you get into your rhythm. So it's like Cam says, I agree with everything he said, but it's like at a much slower pace. Like just to get started is quite something.
Now, gents, beyond the physical ability, this race is by no means a mental battle. So what are some of the psychological traits that are not negotiable, that you absolutely need to have in order for you to complete it?
So the biggest challenge for me, and it just follows on the sleep deprivation question, is, when you are training for an Ironman or another event, let's say you've got a day where you're pushing your body. An Ironman, you push your body to the limits. You finish it, you go and have a shower, you go and have something to eat, and you sleep for 8 to 12 hours. So at the Deca, the biggest mental challenge was you do that, and then you go to bed knowing that, listen, in 2 hours, in 3 hours' time, I'm going to have to get up. And that really, that really plays on your mind. You start having real fears about waking up, and are you going to have enough sleep? So that for me was something real to get past. And then I would say something that's non-negotiable is, and it's often said, why are you doing this? Because there are times, it's easy, I say easy in inverted commas, when you're getting to the finish line, there's people there, they're cheering for you, but when it's 2:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, you're the only one on the course, it's raining, it's cold, you have to push a certain distance to be able to finish, I think that's when you're having a look in the mirror and there's no one there to say, listen, let's go. So your why is going to be pretty important there, and that's really what's going to push you in those micro moments to make sure you get to 6 o'clock when the sun comes up, because then life looks a lot prettier.
Yeah. And I suppose pacing is a very critical element, in terms of completing this particular race. So how does pacing contribute, or how does an athlete push themselves in pacing, across the different segments like swimming, biking, and running?
So it's when you're doing a race that's this long, if you're going for the win, obviously you've got personal best times and you're pushing a swim in a certain time, cycle in a certain time. But I think for us going there, it was just about watching or seeing what our bodies can do and trying to replicate that day after day or hour after hour. I think also you asked what is non-negotiable. Steve has a good saying called crazy is also a mindset. I think you need to have a crazy mindset. You need to you need to be able to entertain yourself. So if you're one of those people that need constant stimulus from other people, this is going to kill you, because there's a lot of time on your own. Constant reassurance, being able to live in your own head and just get down and do whatever you need to do. I think that's the key. But Simpiwe, it's something I'm sure you could do.
This is, it's definitely something I could do. And it has to do with legacy. Now that you guys have earmarked a legacy for your own selves, I also have earmarked my own legacy, because I submitted Mount Kilimanjaro last year. And I never stop at nothing to share, to brag about this, because it's a legacy.
It is.
That I've earmarked for myself.
So I feel like there's a bit of a swap that could happen here, in that I think next year you do the Deca with us, and then the next year, so 2027, we'll do Kili with you.
Guys, we don't lie on TV, right?
No.
Is it a deal?
No, I'm happy with that. If you're happy, I'm happy.
I'm happy. I'm happy to do it.
Well, are we shaking on this, or what are we doing?
Let's do that live on air.
There we go. 100%.
There we go. Kilimanjaro it is. Kilimanjaro it is.
Yeah, but Deca first next year. Huh? This is going to be fun.
Gentlemen, great chatting to me. And thank you. Hey?
Lovely stuff. Thank you, Simpiwe.
All right, we roped in 3 athletes from Xtreme South Africa, team who have just completed Africa's first Deca Triathlon.